Hello, welcome to episode 2 of Surviving Minecraft. Today we are going to work on the Librarian Villager Hall that I talked about in the last episode. But let's see. So in the last episode we set up this mob grinder. So I guess we should go ahead and knock that off the list. I am planning on getting to the librarians today. However, there are some things distracting me. Some chores we need to do first. So let's write those down. So sorry, all of these other items on the list. You're having someone's cutting the line, but this won't take too long. We're just gonna get a couple small items done really quick. So first of all, we need to create some, what are they called exactly, so I don't screw this up. Copper, they're literally just called lightning rods. I thought they were called copper rods. Okay, so we need lightning rods to protect our villagers from lightning. And the reason why I even bring this up is because over here on our iron farm, if you had a keen eye in the last episode, you may have noticed that it's not actually producing anything because one of my villagers got turned into a witch. And that's not ideal. And I do have a lightning rod on the farm over there, but I wasn't really thinking when I placed it because I'm almost certain that if lightning struck that, it could definitely still hit the villager. So I'm going to craft a second one and then break that one and move them. That's the first thing. The second thing are both my iron farm. So I accidentally tapped my hotkey to stop the recording and lost a lot of footage here. That's why you're about to see me explain some things in post. Sorry about that. I did fix my keybind, so it shouldn't happen again. And here is the finished bridge. And you can see me over there talking to myself, looking at the list at my bulletin board and not realizing that I am not actually recording. Did not even know. But anyway, I can kind of show you around. So I just made this pretty simple bridge as well as these little piers to transition it into the dirt and shape the terrain over here a little bit. As well as these piers kind of just give me a nice place to park my boats. But I'm pretty happy with it. It is a simple bridge, like I said. I made it look a little bit worn down by not placing fences on the raw granite bits. And I also really love this trick where you use a darker and a lighter log. And you use the darker one underwater to make it look like the log is wet. Almost like there have been waves splashing up a little bit, and that's why the quote-unquote wet log is slightly above the water as well. So I really like the way that looks, and you'll actually see a lot in the time lapse of me experimenting, trying both spruce and oak, and sort of like placing things and replacing them, and then going back. And I think that it's kind of meaningful to leave that in the time lapse, because a lot of times you see time lapses of builds, and the builds have been created in either the builder is incredibly good at building and has lots of experience and has a really clear picture of what they want to build in their head, or what is more likely is that they've built already in in creative mode, and they've used something like Litematica to place a blueprint in their world to build that way. And I want to be absolutely clear, that is not, there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, there will probably come a time when I will do that myself. I think being able to use tools like that to bridge the gap between building however you want in creative mode without the restrictions and the time gates of having to break and replace and climb up and scaffold, I think that's really great. And then being able to bridge that into survival, where you do have to do all those things for the final build, it can literally make big complex projects, or even simple things like little farm designs and stuff that are hard to remember and you'd have to constantly be going back and forth between worlds or looking at screenshots. It makes those things possible and less annoying to do in survival. So just to be clear, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. However, it is worth keeping in mind that when that's done, you miss out on this experimentation process when you're building. And that's not something that you can usually do when you're just building freehand in survival. You usually, again, unless you're really experienced and you've built lots of bridges before and you know exactly how to build a bridge, and you have the idea in your head, and it's only the small things that you end up tweaking, there's a really good chance that you're going to need to experiment a lot before you're happy. And so, again, I just wanted to bring attention to that. If you see lots of undoing and redoing in my time lapse, that's why. And I actually think it's good to share that, because that is a real part of the building process. So the next order of business is to get our melon and pumpkin farm moved. So I'm gonna need to do some resource gathering. So what I'm gonna need to do next is just mine out a decent amount of stone, because I think I want to do this farm out of smooth stone. So I'm gonna try and think about what I think I'm gonna need space for in the base here. That way I can sort of kill two birds with one stone. With one stone. I also want to think about, because I think I'm gonna have support beams kind of holding up, kind of like this is, holding up these different archways. So I think I'd like to, let me use something thinner than this. Maybe I'll just use like a fence post. I just want to mark out 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna move this chest. I'll just put it in the storage room for now. That makes sense. Sort of my project chest, one of them that I use when I'm gathering resources for a project. I'm almost certainly going to want to wing in this direction, though, so that might be a safe bet. To just dig out another room this way. Alright, well, that's what I'll do. We'll start there, and I'll be back when I'm done. Oh, and I already do have some smooth stone in here. I forgot about that, so that's actually really nice. Should be plenty. While we wait for that to smelt, I think I'll go ahead and start on dismantling the old farm. Hey, buddy. You've been doing a good job. My friend had me name this copper golem after his girlfriend, Lisa. So that's why the copper golem's name is Lisa. Come on. Come on, Lisa. We must go. And I'll just put him over here. Oops. Oh my goodness. Alright. So let's get to dismantling this farm as well. Alright, that's done. We have a nice cleared out room here. This is where we're going to move in the villager, or the librarians. The librarian hall, not exactly sure how that'll look yet, but we will get there. Let's go ahead and regroup, get all these supplies dumped, and we'll begin working on the new farm. I'm loving our new bridge. It's so much nicer to cross the water here now. Okay, I think I'm going to be lazy and just dump all of this for now. Okay, how are we looking over here? Pretty good, actually. We probably can get started. Alright, so I was thinking about putting this farm literally above my sugarcane one, but that actually might be a bit of an ordeal. Let me actually get rid of this so that monsters can't get in there. So I think instead of doing that, I'm gonna find a spot maybe just down here. I still want it to be fairly close because I want it to be running when I'm nearby so that I can use it to sell to the villagers, because that's the main purpose of this farm, is to make emeralds. So maybe if I just clear this top layer out, and I could do it like here. It's a bit uneven, but I could clear it out. Let's do that. I will start digging out this area. Alright, I do think this will be enough space. And I'll have it snugged up pretty close to the sugarcane farm here. And then the chest to access it will be in between them like this. Alright, now that is done. I will link the tutorial I followed for this farm in the description. It was by a YouTuber called Adil Gamez. If you watch that tutorial, I did change a couple things just to make it a little simpler. And also, I think I might remove these pillar sections on the end. I don't really like them. But this farm is actually vertically tileable, so I'll probably expand it at some point, but I really only need this much right now. This is already better than what I had before by a little bit, and I don't feel like I don't have all the resources just yet to make all of the blocks needed to expand it further. For now, I'm going to leave this as is. It's pretty good, but when I have the need, I will expand it vertically. I am going to remove these ends because I don't think they look very good. There, that's much better. Once we get the villagers discounted, my farmers will be able to purchase a melon or pumpkin, just a single melon or pumpkin for an emerald. So I'm not thinking I'll need to go over maybe like 3 layers of this. I do think that that is about all we have time for today. So I guess I can go ahead and take that off the list, which is exciting. We can knock another item off. We have moved the melon and pumpkin farm from to the surface and made it a little better and expandable. It's good. We're happy about this. Okay, so I don't think I'm gonna have time to start on this today. However, I would like to hop over into my creative world and share just exactly what I have in mind for this. It's still subject to change a little bit. There's a few things I'm unsure about, but let's go take a look so I can kind of give you a sneak peek on what it's going to look like. Okay, here we are. And this right here is the little template I made. I'll also flash on the screen my spreadsheet that I have with all of my villagers. That way you can see exactly what I have in mind. I have 1 slot for every villager. I was able to fit, I think, what is it, 20, hang on, let me do the math. I have 23 villagers, but 2 of them are technically redundant. Yeah, I did 21 slots. I have the lectern behind him, that way it doesn't need to be in the front. That may actually change because I've noticed that the one in my survival world that I have a lectern behind just when I was messing around and testing, he spends a lot of time turned around, so I might experiment with having it in front of him, like normal. But just to explain what's going on here, there are different ways I want to display information. Let me actually get some enchanted books as well. So I have a texture pack that gives most of the enchantment books their own texture, which is nice. And I'm planning on using the shelves to display information as well as these 2 blocks. So this means that this villager sells paper. Some of the villagers also sell books, so I might try and work a way in to convey that information, but for now I'm probably just going to use the paper trade. So this is basically saying that you can sell to this villager. This light being on would indicate that this villager has been zombified and cured, so it is a discounted villager. So with that information alone, you can get a good idea on like where the best villagers are to sell stuff to. And then the other information is all about what this villager sells. So a lot of the villagers sell bookshelves. Some of them sell lanterns and glass, which are both useful. And then, of course, the books themselves. So I will be conveying all of that information. And the idea is that when you're walking around, it's easy to see what everyone has. And then on top of this, I'm also going to have a naming system that gives each villager an address that holds all this information as well. And there will be a reference on a wall, maybe somewhere over in this direction, that gives you the address to the villager that sells a specific enchantment. So for example, this is the north face, this would be west, and this would be east. And so because this is north, we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this villager's address is N5. And then you would also have some information about whether or not he sells and buys things. So his name would be something like N1 or 5 dash, and then let's assume he sells everything. So if he sells bookshelves, well, we'll start with paper. So he does buy paper, he sells bookshelves, he sells lanterns and glass, something like this. The way you'd also be able to tell by his name, so if I ever moved him, then the information would stay with this villager without me having to go scroll through his inventory. But yeah, that's going to be the idea. I also would like to decorate it up and make it pretty. See, this is what I'm talking about right here, though. How his back is facing us, because that's where his lectern is. I'm not sure if I love that. I may experiment with the lectern being in front of him again. We'll see. The other thing is that I would like to have a safety system that can block them off. Similar to how I have trapdoors in the hall right now. I think I'm going to use sticky pistons and glass for this just because it's pretty cool. And then I'll have a lever or a pressure plate or something somewhere that triggers these to go down. And it will cover him up. And I did test this. It does stop the villager from getting targeted and hurt by zombies. So it looks like he's got a little window here. And then when you flick it up, he's revealed, which is pretty cool. But again, that's about all I have time for today. So thank you for watching and stay tuned for more in the near future. Comment, like, subscribe if you'd like to do all those things, and take care. Bye-bye.